You've got an opportunity to speak to some young high school coaches, and they're getting after it, trying to do the best job they can, learning. What are some things you just say, hey, here's two or three things that really are a central thing you ought to focus on?
Well, I think the first one is just love your players, and that doesn't mean that I need to be buddies with them. They're not your buddy. Okay, that's not your role is to be their buddy. They have individuals their own age that they need to be buddies with. What they're looking for is they're looking for someone that they can love too. You start talking about what that player coach relationship looks like, and Lou Holtz said this, and I'm probably not going to do great justice to this at this point in time. I hadn't even thought about this in quite some time, but he said, we're asking the same questions of each other. You know, are you committed? Right? I want to know if the player's committed, and they want to know if I'm committed. And they're committed to what? To success, to the relationship, to all the other things. Are you committed? Do you care about me? I mean, as a player, you want to know that. As a coach, you want to know that. And basically, are you willing to put forth the effort? Okay, are you willing to go to work? Are you going to do the things that's different than commitment? It's the actions that are involved in it. And I remember him saying that. And I thought, it's kind of interesting that the reality of it is, as a coach, you're looking for the same things out of the players. The players looking for it. You would always remember that. And so, when I say that love, that relationship is about not being buddy buddy, but it's just about gaining the trust and all those other kinds of things. And in that, I would say the next thing that I would say, you said three, and so I would say the next thing in that is, are you willing to do the things to make yourself that better coach? Are you willing to study the game, to want to learn other things? Are you an individual that thinks you know everything? Because I promise you, you and I are smart guys, but I know you don't know everything, and I know I don't know everything. And I would just be, I'm completely fascinated with learning. My wife will ask me, why are you watching that game? It's out of control, or who cares? It's Timbuktu versus, somebody else. And I go, because I'm learning something. There might be a moment in here where I get to see something that I've never seen before.
That's right.
And I said, you need to get fascinated in learning and working, okay, and what the outcome of those kind of things are. And then the last thing I'd probably say is to be a good teammate. I'm talking about with your other coaches. Because, boy, I tell you, I was a part of a staff at one point in time, and it was just a cutthroat deal. Everybody wanted the most attention. Some of this was the head coach's fault, quite honestly, because he tended to give people the most money, the most time, the most praise whenever they did something that maybe was not even at the benefit of the rest of the team, but it was what they'd done, and whether it be recruiting or coaching or whatever. I immediately got off that staff, and it was a good job. It was one of those ones where everybody was like, "Why are you leaving that place?" And it wasn't, and it probably career wise, it wasn't a great decision. But from a mentality standpoint, I couldn't do this anymore. It was a bad environment. I hated going into work every day, and I never had that feeling other than that one place to where I loved what I did.
So love your players, right? So brain science behind that is they don't care what you know unless they know that you care. That's actually brain science, that your brain's going to respond differently if somebody has genuine care. That love for your players has an unconditional element to it. You're not just loving them if they're performing. You care about who they are and who they're becoming, right? And then a commitment to work hard, to keep growing ourselves. And that's really good because the brain is forming all these different pathways. And the older you get, the harder it is to form new pathways. And you get rooted in. And so you've got to consciously be a learner if you're going to grow, or else you're going to coach like you were coached. You're going to respond this way, and there's no growth in that. And the last one was the teamwork. All right, so being together, and that's again the brain science of we're made to be a part of something together. The research shows that the brain is actually smarter in groups of 3 or 4 up to 12 than it is in isolation. So you take somebody with a 110 IQ and you put him in an environment with a group of other people, the group IQ is going to rise. Isn't that amazing?
It is amazing.
So, and yet, too often we try to do stuff on our own. And as a coach, think, well, I'm smarter than everybody else, so I'm going to figure this out. And even if you are the smartest guy in the room, you're going to learn from people that aren't as smart as you.
Absolutely.
That concept of being a part of something together is really important. And you're modeling as a staff what you want for your team, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And one of the very best things about having played football is that brotherhood, that team, being a part of something together, working hard at something.
I had a great compliment at one point in time where I took it as one. I had a player come back to me. We were just coming into a program. And again, a lot of the staff had been with me for years. And apparently the previous staff had lots of turnover and so on. And the player came up to me after our first spring. And I said, Eric, how's it going today? Everything going well? He goes, Coach, it is. And he goes, you know what's amazing? And I said, what? I was like, didn't have any idea where he was going to go with it. He said, everyone on your staff, they all say the exact same things. It's like everything that we hear is the same. And he goes, that's so much different than the past staff. And I said, well, how does that make you feel? And he said, like we're on a mission.
That's good.
And I thought, what a neat thing. I took that as a huge compliment.
Sure.
And I actually relayed that to the staff that next morning. This was probably one of the most prideful things. This is how the image that we're portraying, and this is how the team is taking.
I was with a college player, football player, he'd been a special teams player, backup, never really, never started, but had gone through 5 years of college football. And he was telling me about how, his experience was, sometimes he looks and says, well, I didn't achieve stuff. And he said he was with some teammates. This happened last week. He said he was with some teammates, and that's the hardest thing there is to go through all the work of the whole process and just be a part of the team. But those guys matter too.
I actively searched them out as a head coach. I would actively search out coaches that necessarily didn't make the NFL. It's not that NFL coaches or NFL players make bad coaches. I've had several. But the ones that I always found were the great coaches were the ones that actually had been injured in college. And because they had still something that they had not quite accomplished. They had still, it wasn't finished for them. And so there was just a little bit more, maybe a little more drive. And so I actively searched out guys as I was looking to do staffs that had a moment like that because they were unfinished.
Yeah, that's good. Anything else you want to say?
I think I'm good.
That's good.
Fun.
I appreciate it, man.
I appreciate you.
Yeah,
it's been fun. Yeah.